at the beginning of the book, you talk about the difference in ethos between Egyptian, Greek, and Roman art. And I was wondering if you could just quickly give your thoughts on that, because that's where I am right now. I finished Egypt. Now I'm in Greece and Rome. So,
Right.
so what can we get out of those non-Catholic works and see from a spiritual perspective?
Yeah. I always tell my pilgrims that, if nothing else, from now forward, you don't need, textbooks a mile high in the science of this art if you just understand the spirituality of the Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Romans, you completely understand their art, and you can walk into any museum in the world and instantly identify, oh, that's Greek. Oh, that's Roman. Oh, that's Egyptian. And let me tell you what the secret is. In Egyptian art, the ethos of Egyptian spirituality can be summed up as God as men. Right? So if you think about it, virtually all of their art is seeking the eternal in the afterlife. And their whole basic idea is, I can make myself into a god. I mean, we start off in the tomb of Perneb, where he's literally doing that. He has himself painted, seated, which in a Egyptian context is a divinity, bigger than life, with all the little people bringing all his favorite things for his eternal party, which he's assuming is going to occur in this afterlife. So that's men as God. Then everyone laughs and go, well, I'm glad I wasn't an Egyptian. He ended up in the museum. Until I asked them, well, when was the last time you made yourself God? I mean, isn't that the sin of pride? In some ways, the original sin is that. Mm-hmm. So that's the Egyptians. But the Egyptians, at least in their art, are trying to find the eternal. That's why the art is two-dimensional. It's abstract. It's not meant to be here. It's there. Mm-hmm. The Greeks, the Greeks were different. I described their theology, if you will, or their sense of spirituality as gods as men. So Greek spirituality is that the gods all come to earth as men and as women, in the case of Aphrodite as an example, but and that's why they're all perfect. So all of the Greek statues are here on earth. They're very much three-dimensional, but they're not portraits. They're actual idealized images,
right?
Perfect images that are, they're God. They're gods as men. And the best men are in fact gods. They deify the greatest athletes. They don't actually deify them. They say they must be gods, in a way, right? The Romans, if you think about it, were godless. I mean, yeah, they had all these, superstitions and things, but they only believed it was really the here and now. There's nothing after that. And if you look at their sculptures and art, because there's some wonderful Roman paintings as well at the Met, by the way.
Right, yes.
You'll see that they're portraits of real people. And that gets kind of interesting because you see, have you gotten to Trebonius Gallus yet, Thomas?
I've seen it, yeah, and I read your book, so I saw that. Yeah, so I'm fond of these Roman busts because they're flawed faces. Yeah. They're like these craggly looking Roman generals with their pockmarked faces and stuff. I love that, actually. Yeah,
yeah, and they, I give a lot of talks on the pilgrimage now, and one of my meditations is I call it the faces I wear. So if you go back to the Trebonius Gallus, you'll see that it's right next to the Constantine. So Trebonius Gallus is a godless guy. He gets to be emperor by killing the previous emperor. He lasts 4 years before he's executed by his own men. And you can see in that image this, pockmarked general, whatever, but more importantly, I think, the sense of concern and worry that he has because it's all
Right.
on him. And then you see the bust of Constantine right nearby. And he's got plenty of worries too. I mean, the empire is on the verge of breaking up, etc. He famously he lives his life as a Christian, is baptized at the end of his life, but he brings the empire into Christianity.
Right.
And he's a man of God. And you see in his face this look of serenity and confident joy that transcends the day-to-day worries of the world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell my pilgrims, every day is a choice when I leave the house in the morning. Am I going to have the face of Trebonius Gallus on or the face of Constantine? And I wish I'd tell you I always have the face of Constantine. I mean, on market days like we've had the last few days, sometimes I get the face of Trebonius Gallus. And I think it's it's a choice we have to make. It's a battle of wills, even, to throw ourselves into the Holy Spirit and let him guide us. It's interesting, you can go to, what's really interesting about this spirituality inside the sculptures, Thomas, is a lot of folks, they like to read the descriptions of the art that the Met leaves. And they'll try to catch me on something like, oh, this is actually a Roman sculpture. Like, actually, virtually all of the Greek sculptures in the Met are actually
Right.
Roman.
Right.
So what it is when
They're
the
copies,
Roman, nobles got rich, for a long time, the thing to do was to get a copy of a Greek statue. So they would have Roman artists copy the Greek statue. And what I find so fascinating is that these are artists very capable of doing Roman art. But when they're being paid to copy a Greek statue, they give us Greek art, which clearly has Greek spirituality, this sort of idealized sense of gods as men, God on earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's that element of God on earth, by the way, that, kind of attracted Paul. He thought he could convert them. You've been looking for God,
Right.
Here he is. Famous speech in Athens. It didn't work out for Paul, but in that one particular instance, but
Right.
worked out broadly for Paul. But
Right.
they used Roman artists. Most of the Greek art we have today, especially the stuff we have at the Met, is actually Roman copies of Greek originals.